All right, here we go. 4.2. 4.2 is congruent triangles and kind of proving congruence. Okay, this is where we get a little bit sticky as far as chapter 4 goes. Okay, 4.2 and 4.3 usually the kickers. Just because it's proofs and you guys hate proofs because you don't really understand it. It's new, it's foreign to you, so hopefully we can try to get through it a little bit. Remember, I'm not testing you guys on proofs. I'm only going to quiz you. Okay, so it's just my treat to you guys, especially first hour being online, remote. I mean, proofs are difficult as it is, let alone remote. Okay, so pay attention here. Another thing, only 3 of you watched last week's lesson video. Remember my rule for attendance. If grades start to suffer, which they are, I'm gonna have to start taking attendance. Be hardcore about it. If you do not watch my lesson videos by 11:50 by the end of the school day, then you're gonna be marked absent. This is how it goes. And I don't even know why I'm saying this because hopefully after I mark you absent once, you'll go back and watch this and realize that yes, I did warn you. Okay. All right, so if you get marked absent, that is why. During this hybrid where we're doing video homework, all you gotta do is watch the video on the day I post it. Okay. Once you watch the video on the day I post it, you're present for that day and the homework day. Okay. Now, once we go back to 5 days a week and you learn 5 new topics a week, then it's a little bit different. Okay. All right, so let's get into it. So here we go. Share screen. And 4.2 notes are up. Yeah, they are. Cool. Okay, congruent triangles. I'm going to teach you a long way. Well, I'm not really going to teach you. I'm going to show you what congruent triangles actually mean. Like, what does it mean for 2 triangles to be congruent? If I can find my pen. There we go. Found it. Okay, congruent triangles. 2 figures are congruent if they have the same size, and shape. Is what I like to say. Okay, congruent, same size and shape. A baseball is congruent to another baseball. A tennis ball is congruent to another tennis ball, size and shape. Okay. Segments are congruent if they have the same length. Obviously, congruent is just another fancy word for equal. Remember, this is the congruent sign. It's like a fancy equal sign. That's terrible. Let me do it again. There you go. That's really what it is. Okay. Angles are congruent if they have the same measure. That's common sense. We know that. Okay, congruent triangles. 2 triangles are congruent if each part of one triangle is congruent to a corresponding part of the other, both angles and sides, 6 pieces all together. Okay, so when we're writing a congruent statement, so triangle blank is congruent to triangle blank, you have to write it in a certain order. Okay, so here's how I'm going to write it. Watch this. So see how all angles and all sides are congruent. You need to write the ones that match up. For example, if I have triangle, this will be blue and this will be pink. Okay. If I have triangle A, let's call it B, C, is congruent to triangle. Now, what letter do I start with? Well, I started with A on my first triangle. So what I need to do is go to what angle matches up with A. Okay, on the left triangle, this is one little arc symbol. Z also has one little arc symbol. So Z is going to come first because A matches up with Z. Okay, now what angle matches up with B? Well, this is 2 arc marks, and X also has 2. So it's X, and then Y would be your last one. Okay, but notice another thing here. The congruent statement tells you everything. Okay, it tells you all 6 things just by looking at it. Okay, it also tells you AB is congruent to ZX just by looking at the statement alone. Okay, is that true? So we have AB with 2 tick marks, and ZX also has 2 tick marks. BC is congruent to XY. BC, 3 tick marks. XY is 3 tick marks. Now, the only kicker is the 2 outer ones. Okay, it kind of doesn't make sense. Once you do these, it will. But AC, ZY also match up. So AC and ZY, 1 tick mark apiece. Okay, so there's 6 things that go on here. Let's write them all out. Let's write out all 6 of them. Because I want you to see, once we start talking about the shortcuts for proofs, This is why we have the shortcuts in the first place. Okay, so we have angle A is congruent to angle Z. Angle B is congruent to angle X. Angle C is congruent to angle Y. Okay, all that is true just based off our congruence statement. And you can also tell that by looking at the picture. Okay, now to the sides. So side A B is congruent to side ZX. We just talked about that, right? Side BC is congruent to side XY. Okay, and then also side AC is congruent to side ZY. Okay, that's 6 things. Is that a lot? Yeah. Okay, when I want to prove 2 triangles are congruent, does anybody want to show 6 things? No. Okay, so what do we need? We need shortcuts. Here's the shortcuts. Okay, here's your first one. Yeah, okay. That's a long slide. I'm not going to read that. Paragraphs, I'll read the first sentence and last sentence in my brain. Checks out. Okay, here's the first one. This is called the side postulate. Postulate, what is that? Okay, postulate's a little bit different than theorem. Postulates are based on theorems. Okay, but here's what it is. It's just a tool. It's another tool. Okay, it's another tool that we use. Okay, what it says, if 3 sides of one triangle are congruent to 3 sides of another, then the triangles are congruent. Okay, so we only have to show that 3 things are congruent instead of the whole 6. But does that make sense? If 3 sides are congruent, well, the opposite angles to the sides also have to be congruent. But if we only show 3 things instead of 6 things, now it's a lot easier. Okay, here's what it means. Do I have I want a picture here. I guess I can draw one. Okay, what if we have this? Okay, I only give you the tick marks. Okay, nothing to do with the angles. Notice there's not one arc mark in an angle. Okay, so you have 3 things. So we know these triangles are congruent by side, side, side. Congruent means it's the same. Every corresponding part is the same. Okay, so what that also means, that means this angle is congruent to this angle. This angle is congruent to this angle. Let's use blue. This angle is also congruent to this angle. So just by showing 3, we now show all 6. That's our first shortcut, side, side, side. Okay, now, so we're going to do our first proof here. It's going to seem very foreign. Don't let it seem very foreign. Okay, just try to copy down what I write and try to work through it with me. Okay, some of this stuff will be review from last semester. So just try to work through it. It's not a big deal. Just try to pay attention to what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, remember, we always start with a given in our proofs. So we always start with a given. And the reason being is it's given. Why do I write given here is because you could rewrite the same thing. Okay, but I'm just going to write given. Given equals given. Sure. That's a great first step. That's 1 point in your proofs automatically. You should always get that one. Okay, now let's go through and make tick marks on our diagram so we kind of know what we're talking about here. So the first one says JK is congruent to JM. So JK is congruent to JM. Okay, we have one side that's congruent. Now remember, we're trying to prove the top triangle is congruent to the bottom triangle. And pay attention because kites always usually work like this. Okay, and KL is congruent to ML. All right. So now we have to figure out through last semester's properties that we use, last semester's tools, and if you actually flip the page on your blank pages that I pulled up, if you go to the last 2 pages, it's actually a full list of tools from last semester that we used, if you don't remember them. Okay, but once again, most of the problems I'm going to give you are exactly like the ones I'm showing you in the notes. So just kind of pay attention to the shape and how we kind of work through it all the way. Okay, so we have 2 sides congruent. So in order to use my first tool, I need 3 sides. Where can I get that other side from? Well, don't these 2 triangles share this middle side? Yeah, they do, right? What is this called? What is this property called when they share a side? Maybe somebody remembers. Okay, it's actually called reflexive. So that's going to be the reason why. Hold on, reflexive property. That's what it means when two triangles share a side. Okay, it's called reflexive. Obviously, they're going to be congruent because it's the same line. It's the same side. Okay, so now let's go to our actual proof, our t-chart, and let's put, what is it, JL. Okay, so JL is congruent to what? Well, it's reflexive property, so it's the same thing. JL. What's our reason? Reflexive. Reflexive. Oh no. I don't know why I'm struggling with that word so much. Spelling king. Okay, now do we have three sides that are congruent? Yeah, we do. Okay, so now our final step is always going to be the congruent statement. That's going to be what we proved. Okay, now where can we get that from? Boom. Okay, so recreate that. So we have triangle JKL is congruent to triangle JML. Okay, and what's our reason? What's our tool that we just did? What's our shortcut? It's side, side, side. It's your first proof. Usually the proofs I'm going to give you are going to be three-liners. I might give you a fourth-liner on a quiz just to test you guys, okay? But side, side, side is what we want to use, the shortcut. Okay, let's move on to another one. Now we have side, angle, side. Okay, side, angle, side. If two sides and the included angle, so we have an angle sandwiched between two congruent sides, is also congruent, then the triangles are congruent. So this one's a little different. It's a sangle, it's a side, sangle, side, angle, side. It's a sandwiched angle. Okay, so here's what I mean. It's like this. So let's say these two are right angles. Why could it look like right angles? And let's say this side is congruent to this side. This side is congruent to this side. Okay, this is going to be congruent by side, angle, side. Why? Here's my first side that's congruent. Here's my angle. And then here's my last side. Okay, side, angle, side. So we want to get to a point where we can use that. Okay, and let's learn our last one. So we're only going to use three. We could learn four, but we'll see if I get to it. Okay, angle, side, angle is our last one. So instead, it's exact opposite of side, angle, side. We have two angles and we have a side that's sandwiched. Okay, for example, say this is congruent to this. This is congruent to this. And let's say the side in between is also congruent. Okay, these two triangles are congruent by angle, side, angle. Why? Because here's an angle that's congruent. Here's the sandwich side. Uh-oh, wrong color. Here's the sandwich side. And then here is the right angle. Okay, angle, side, angle. That's our last one we're going to learn. Do I have another one here? No, I don't. Let's just get to it. Let's get to a couple proofs and we'll be done. Oh, here's that page I was talking about. Okay, so I think reflexive property is on here somewhere. It's kind of cut off. It's okay though. There it is, reflexive. There we go. Okay, so let's do two of them. Okay, so here's what we want. We want to, number one, start with our given. So we have the given. That's the first step in our proof. Okay. Next, we want to mark up our diagram, okay, with the given. So here's what we have. We have JK is congruent to ML. JK is congruent to ML. Now we also have JK is parallel to ML. And remember, that's special properties here. The two parallel lines with the transversal. Here's a transversal. Here's the two parallel lines. Okay, it tells us something special. Okay, here's what we want to prove. We want to prove that the triangle JKL, the right one, is congruent to the left one. Okay, how are we going to do that? It's actually a four-stepper. Okay. What's the first one we can get? Don't these two triangles share a side? Yeah, they do. They share this side. Okay, they share the JL. Okay, so we know that JL is going to be congruent to JL. Okay, what property? Reflexive. You'll eventually get to the point where you can just see this right off the bat. Okay, and now we need to search for our last kind of puzzle piece, okay, that we can fit in to make these triangles congruent. Okay, I'm gonna guess if I ever give you numbered angles, there's something gonna be going on there. Okay, remember we have two parallel lines, and we have, so let's extend this so we can maybe see it better. We have two parallel lines, and we also have a transversal going through them. What do we know about alternate interior angles? Okay, what do parallel lines give us? Okay, they give us parallel lines give us alternate interior and exterior angles congruent. Okay, so those parallel lines tell us angle 1 and angle 2 are congruent. That is a special tool that we learned last semester. Okay, try to bring that to the forefront of your brain. So here we go. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Okay, what's the reasoning? Parallel lines give, or you could just probably put alternate interior angles are congruent. Congruent. Okay, there we go. Now, do we have what we need? We have a side, an angle, and a side. Okay, so what tool is that? Well, side angle side, SAS. So now our last line, we're good to go. We can prove the triangles are congruent. Okay, our last line is triangle JKL is congruent to triangle MLJ by side angle side. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, how the heck are we supposed to know to use reflexive property and alternate interior angles? Well, the only way you know is by doing problems over and over again. Okay, that's really it. Okay, now I give you this big list of definitions and properties you can use, but the only way you get good is if you do these problems and you try to look back at my notes and see, okay, how did I do this one? You try to think. There's a thought process that goes into proofs, so it's hard. It's difficult. Okay, you often don't see it at first. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, first step, write your given. Given and given. All right. Second step, make your tick marks or your arc marks on your angles if it gives you angles. Okay, VW is congruent to, here's VW is congruent to ZY. Y, or not Y, V is congruent to angle Z. Okay, and VW is parallel, so VW is parallel to this line, WX, or WY, sorry, the whole thing. And same thing on this side. So we're going to have parallel lines here and parallel lines here. Okay, let's see how we can use it. Okay, remember, it says nothing about a right angle, not yet. Okay, we have to use that. We know what perpendicular lines are, so there's going to be a right angle. Let's use that right off the bat. All right, we know that W and Y are going to be right angles. Okay, but we can't just say that without putting it on proof. So it's kind of common sense here. So W, angle W is congruent to angle Y. What's our reason? What's definition? Well, it's common sense. It's always the definition of perpendicular lines. They make right angles. Okay. Now you could put another line in there that angle W and angle Y are right angles, but it's just another step. Okay. If you tell me this, I'm completely fine with it. All right. So now what do we have here? We can automatically go to our proving statement, our last line. Why? Because what tool do we have? We have an angle and an angle, and we have a side sandwiched in between. Okay, so what tool is that? That's angle, side, angle. Okay, so write your last statement right here in the bottom line. Okay, and what is our reason? Our reason is angle, side angle. All right, those proofs are pretty easy. I mean, proofs could get really hard. I've done, I think in high school we had like 10-line proofs or 8-line proofs. I'm not gonna make you do that. 3 to 4 lines, that's it. Okay, remember, I'm not gonna test you on it. I'm gonna quiz you on it. Okay, so it won't hurt your grade as much, but you guys definitely need to know that. Remember, watch the videos, do your homework, get it to me. Okay, stay on top. I'm available during first hour for Zoom and also after 11:50 before football practice. Okay, so let me know. I'm sitting there waiting for you guys to message me first hour for questions and or Zoom. Okay, that is your time. Please use it. See ya. Have a good one.